Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, episode number 115 of Let's Go Racing with David Starr. Tyler Jones here with you. So glad to have you with us. Coming up on today's show, it is the halfway point of the NASCAR Cup Series season. We will recap the season that's been so far, including last week's race at Sonoma, where Martin Truex Jr. came out victorious. Also, the Garage 56 program, a smashing success for NASCAR and for Hendrick Motorsports. We'll talk about that as well. And look at the highlights of the halfway point of the season to this point. Plus, we'll have our news and notes as well as our Ask David segment coming up at the end of today's show. David Starr back with us this week and joining us on vacation as well in the beach house in Galveston, but still taking time to be with us this week. David, always a pleasure. Some much-needed R&R, I imagine, for you here as you're enjoying yourself with the family there on the beach here.
No doubt about it, man. It's good to have a little R&R time. Man, I think all of us needed some, and man, had a busy day of fishing. Caught about 15 sharks. Me and my boys and my little nephews, and man, just trying to enjoy myself. How was y'all's weekend?
Very good, David. I got to say, first and foremost, what a experience I had at Team Texas on Saturday, driving the number 33 Cheerios car that Clint Boyer used to run there at Texas Motor Speedway, going 150 miles an hour. David, you've been wanting me to do this for a long time. I finally did it, and I got to tell you, it lived up to the hype. That was incredible. I was in shock. Like, it was awesome. One of the coolest things I've ever done. But as cool as that was, the ride-along experience was almost just as cool too, seeing the pro driver do his thing and get all tight to the wall and not lay off the gas. Like, both aspects of it, I got to say, I really enjoyed, David.
Man, Tyler, that's the biggest part of what I love. I love our race fans, and man, having a racing school where the race fans and car enthusiasts and gearheads, where they get to come drive a real NASCAR race car at the Texas Motor Speedway. And and I hate to tell people about I don't know if I might have worded that wrong. It's not that I hate to tell them about it. I like for them to tell me how their experiences was, kind of like how you're explaining it now. It's like I tell people about our racing school, but the best part of it is man, the smiles, everybody's hollering and screaming, the tears, and hearing you speak about it, and it's hard to really describe it to somebody. You got to come do it, and man, that's the most enjoyable part, man. The racing cars and climbing through that window and putting your seatbelts on and putting that window net up, for me in NASCAR competition, there's nothing better than that. But owning a NASCAR racing school and having people like yourself and the men and women and everybody that come, and 99.9% of the people just absolutely love it. And man, I'm glad you had such a great time, dude. It's about time you did it, and I'm glad you loved it.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to do it again next time. And just the full circle experience. Dominic Aragon joins us right now. Dominic, now your turn. Like, what are we waiting for? You got to get in one of these NASCAR race cars and see for yourself.
Absolutely. I've been wanting to, but David's canceled on me no, I'm kidding. He hasn't canceled on me a couple of times. I know there's just been things that have come up, but man, like you said, it would come full circle to be able to do it someday and live out that dream of being a 4-year-old and driving around a NASCAR racetrack in an actual NASCAR stock car vehicle. Be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to the day I get to do it, David.
Well, Dominic, I am too, and Tyler can tell you, I tell you sometimes that, we have a lot of corporate schools and we're open to the public, but man, it was busy. God, it was busy. I told Tyler, it's like, man, afterwards we went and ate dinner, and I said, man, I'm sorry, but I'm so busy. I didn't even really get to talk to him, during the day. But he said, man, I saw it, I see how busy you are, but man, it's incredible. And, again, the best part of it is just seeing how much joy and how everybody really enjoys it. And that's the most joy. That's what I love the most about it, but anyway, it's a lot of work and a lot of fun. And I look forward to Dominic when you can come and participate and I'm glad that Tyler finally got to do it.
We'll make it happen someday soon, man. I wanted to ask you, Tyler, how many people, if you had to guess, were there, from the participants to the people that just showed up to the track? How big of a spectacle was this over the weekend?
David, we probably had, about 70 participants, and then your staff, you had your instructors and then your workers and everything. There was probably 85 people, 85, 90 people there. I mean, it's impressive seeing the full operation that it takes to pull off what you guys do beyond just the race cars and everything. But you have your staff, and then, I mean, you still have the track staff too. I mean, whether it's the security or the safety crew and all that, just in case something happens here. I mean, it is a full-fledged, well-oiled machine operation you guys got going there at Team Texas.
Yeah, no doubt about it. The main thing is everybody knows what their job. Everybody knows the processes and procedures. You can't be you can't be disorganized. You got to be organized, and the machine's got to, you just got to stay oiled, and got to keep it moving. But man, everybody to be able to bring people to the Texas Motor Speedway, a lot of the race fans, and have them drive a real race car, and behind all that is a lot of moving parts, but it all works well. My uncle Mike Starr built the racing school 33 years ago, and obviously I own it now. But man, it's just been a family business for a long time, and I just it's just one of the great things about auto racing is to be able to, around the country, there's other racing schools, but to have our NASCAR race fans be able to come to a NASCAR track and drive a real race car is pretty awesome, But I'm just glad. It was great. It was busy. It was hot. It was then we backed it up with Sunday afternoon, had another busy class, and so it was pretty busy. I worked till about midnight Sunday night, so I'm glad to be here in Galveston, having a little downtime and just kind of relaxing.
Yeah, I can imagine. And I'll say this one more thing, and then we'll move on. David, I mentioned, not only did I love doing the driving experience, but having the professional do that. I know we talk so much about getting in a real NASCAR race car and driving, but there's some people out there where it might not be their thing. They might not want to drive themselves, but come on down to Team Texas and have someone else drive you, or do the limo, or whatever experience it may be. There's something for everybody there at Team Texas. Like that even if you want to go there and drive, I encourage you to do the ride along too. I mean, just a little bit of everything. There's something unique about each thing that's offered there.
Yeah, no doubt about it. If a lot of people don't want to drive, and we encourage them to drive, and a lot of them just say, "Hey, just want a race car ride. I just want to see what it's like." And they're like, "Man," from the time that you put them in the race car, when the race car pulls back down pit road and you're unbuckling them, they're like, man, they want to do it again, and then they say, man, I think I want to drive now. But they just they always like 90% of the people say, man, I have a different appreciation, a different perspective on when I come here and watch NASCAR here at Texas Motor Speedway, or when I watch it on television. A lot of men and women say, man, it looks like it's somewhat easy, but say, man, how do you know what corner you're going into? And you get kind of confused. And I can't believe that you're out there with 39 other cars. They're just it gives everybody a different perspective. But man, it's awesome. There at Team Texas, like I said, if you want to come be a race car driver for the day, you can. You want to take a race car ride, you can do that. You want to ride in our limousine and see how much banking there is in the corner and all that. We have a little bit of something for everybody, So I'm proud of the racing school, and just I love it. And everybody knows me as a NASCAR driver, but they don't really know my business side. The business side is our racing school, and I'm just glad you finally got an opportunity to come see it all in action, Tyler, and be a part of it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, at the end of the day, David, you told us in the very first episode of this show that you're in the people business, and got to see that firsthand. Besides just what you do on the racetrack, but off it too with this, pretty awesome there. Dominic, let's start off with looking back at Martin Truex's win there at Sonoma. His fourth career win at that place. He joins some of the all-time greats there at Sonoma. One of the all-time wins leaders. I think he's only behind Jeff Gordon now when it comes to Sonoma there. But, I mean, you look at Martin Truex, and I don't think we're getting too personal in saying this, but I felt like that he came in with a chip on his shoulder in more ways than one. He had some stuff go on in his personal life, no longer with Sherry Pollux anymore. Coming off a season where he didn't make the playoff, didn't win a race last year, and they were hungry. They had something to prove. And that 19 team, we've seen a rejuvenated Martin Truex Jr., a motivated Martin Truex Jr. His crew chief, James Small, I felt like in the past has made some bonehead decision at times. They're doing what they need to do, and they're racing determined. I mean, they look like a championship caliber team right now. They proved that on Sunday with that performance.
No, they sure did. And when we even go back to the Clash and a non-points race and winning there, and Martin Truex saying that the team had been fired up all offseason, they were going to be racing pissed off, and they were out with the vengeance, wanting to go out and win as many races. They're doing that right now. A multiple win season now for Truex, and like you said, his 4th win at Sonoma. That's only behind Jeff Gordon, all time at 5th, and then I think it was his 33rd career win, 26th overall on the wins list, tying with the NASCAR great Fireball Roberts. Man, Martin Truex Jr., when it's all said and done, we're going to probably be talking 40 and 50 wins, especially at the pace he's rattling off right now, Tyler. They go anywhere. They go a short track, an intermediate, a road course. Martin Truex Jr. is in contention. The only thing they need to just wipe off that list now is a super speedway victory.
Yeah. And David, with Martin catching on, with him racing well, as David mentioned, everywhere he goes, he's a threat. That 19 team, they're clicking. They look like that they'll be contending to make that championship 4 come Phoenix at the end of the year here.
I think we're talking about Martin champion, NASCAR Cup champion Martin Truex Jr. and championship caliber organization team of Joe Gibbs Racing. You can't ever count those guys out, man. I think last year that they were maybe a little bit behind. I don't. If I remember right, guys, correct me if I'm wrong. Martin Truex Jr. did not make the chase.
Correct.
But man, you can't. You talking about all the his ability as a driver. He'll be a Hall of Famer. And like y'all were saying, short tracks, intermediate. It doesn't matter what type of racetrack, road courses. Truex is always a threat. And former champion, and then you plug him into Joe Gibbs Racing, man, and it just doesn't get much better than that. And I think they were a little off last year, but I think we're going to see him and Joe Gibbs Racing, along with Christopher Bell, Denny Hamlin. You can't. That's just a championship caliber organization. When we talk about champions, who's going to be our champion? You always got to consider their drivers and their organization, but you just wasn't surprised by his performance. And, when they're hitting on all 8 cylinders, that's what you get right there.
Yeah, for sure. Dominic, what was some of your other takeaways from this weekend there at Sonoma?
Well, certainly running up there up front with Martin Truex Jr., but that last pit stop kind of came back to bite him in the butt. But Michael McDowell picking up the stage points, running in the top 5 consistently, running lap times comparable to Martin Truex Jr., ran really well. And I think we've known that 34 team has shown speed and brilliance all year, just hasn't put the races together. And unfortunately, I think that final pit stop showed that, okay, maybe there's some things they still need to work on. It's certainly not the team that McDowell and crew chief Blake Harris had for 2022. Yet McDowell picked up a top 10 finish, and to be disappointed with the 7th place finish, and where Front Row Motorsports is, and they're making the gains they have made, it was really nice to see that the 34 team picked up a good run. And as well, too, Tyler, seeing Chase Elliott take a 5th place finish, take a different varying strategy at the end, lead a few laps, and I know they're going to have to win a race. They're not going to be able to point their way in the playoffs. I mean, maybe I'm proved wrong. 10 races down the road, if they're picking up 40 and 50 points a race and not winning, you're collecting stage points, okay, maybe that's a different case if we don't have other winners. But I think we're going to see that 9th team needing to win a race before we get to the playoffs. But a 5th place run at Sonoma coming off a suspension, I think gives that number 9 team a lot of momentum.
Yeah, it's nearly impossible points-wise for them to get there on points to make the playoff. But a win in Chase Elliott's in. But I mean, you look at it now as we transition to the NBC portion of the season and everything here. I mean, what is it, Dominic? 10 races left to the playoff at this point?
Yeah.
Assuming Chase Elliott is out there and healthy and everything, I mean, 10 shots to go get a win. You ran Hendrick Motorsports equipment. I would be surprised if in one of these next 10 races, David, Chase Elliott can't get into victory lane one time. It's all he's got to do, just one time in the next 10 races. I'd be surprised if he doesn't find a way.
Well, if I was a betting man, I don't really bet on anything, but if I was a betting man, I think I'd bet that I think we're going to see Chase Elliott in part of the chase. It's hard to, like I was just talking about Martin Truex and Joe Gibbs Racing, man. It's you look at what Hendrick Motorsports has done, William Byron. You look at their cars. There's plenty of speed there, plenty of championships they have won over the years, and I don't know. We're talking about Chase Elliott here, so I'd be really, really surprised if he didn't win a race in the next 10 races. And then we're talking about Michael McDowell. I love it how Front Row Motorsports is really the last 2 years is really since the next gen race car is since they've been running the next gen race car, Front Row Motorsports and Michael McDowell, man, I love it because Michael is such a great race car driver, and it's cool to see him showcase his talent. You know what I mean? And I just love it. It's just I like y'all were talking about Michael and his team probably disappointed with the 7th place finish because he had a shot at a podium finish, top 3, and maybe even winning the race. But anyway, I'm happy for that group, that organization, and for Michael McDowell, such a great guy and a great race car driver.
Speaking of Michael McDowell, let me propose an idea to both of you, a little bold prediction of some sorts, and see what you think. We got a lot of road course races coming up with Chicago, the Indy Road Course that comes to mind, Watkins Glen. There's several other opportunities here before the playoff. The road course races are about to pick up a bit. David, I'd be willing to venture that we are going to see either Michael McDowell or A.J. Allmendinger, one of the two, maybe even both, pick up one of those road course wins and make the playoff. I think one of those two is going to find a way to crash the party here.
Well, I hope that I really hope that Michael McDowell can win a road course race, you know what I mean, or any race, just because I just think, his situation, his story, his team, Michael McDowell himself, is somewhat of an underdog, fighting and competing for wins and running good against these powerhouse teams, and it's kind of, for me, that would be kind of the Cinderella story of 2023, personally. But man, you definitely can't count him out. Michael McDowell, we saw what he could do this past weekend. He could win a road course race, and there's lots of them coming up. And you look at AJ Allmendinger, one of the best road racers in the country right now. So I definitely agree with you, Tyler, that we're probably going to see one of those guys win a race before all the road racing races are done with in NASCAR.
Right. And we still have a couple of plate style races coming up as well, with Atlanta in a few weeks, Daytona to end the playoff. Dom, who's a wild card type guy, whether it's somebody at a road course or one of these plate races, somebody that we don't typically talk about every week that you think has a chance to crash the party and make the playoff here?
Well, I like the points of McDowell there. I think A.J. Allmendinger, you look back at the first Indianapolis road course race in 2021, him and Colleague Racing putting together their part-time deal and the part-time cup car and winning that event and running strong at the road courses last year with the next gen vehicle. Can't rule out A.J. Allmendinger. Another driver, too, that runs really well on road courses. That team got hit with a severe penalty. I believe they're 30th in points. They need a win to make the playoffs and repeat from 2022. Chase Briscoe and the number 14 team. We don't talk about him every week, but Chase Briscoe, I think, would be an undervalued pick at some of these road course races. We've seen him run up front. We've seen him collect stage points. We've seen him be in contention to win these races at the end. In fact, him and Denny Hamlin were the ones that ran into each other in that 2021 race that paved the way for Allmendinger to go take that victory. So you're right, Tyler. There's so many drivers that we don't talk about, but I think that's why NASCAR made that last race a super speedway race, because it gives teams hope. It gives drivers hope. It keeps everybody something to keep fighting for and look forward to, because they may know that they're not going to be in contention at mile and a half or necessarily the short tracks, but they know those road course races and definitely the super speedways could be the way to get into that playoffs in an opportunity that otherwise would not be available.
One more name, too, I would throw in the mix that's good on both the plate style tracks and the road courses. Austin Cindric as well. He's shown some flashes at times, but they have yet to find that consistency. Watch out to see what he could potentially do at those type of courses to make the playoff on that front. Let's talk about some of the other headlines just at the halfway point of the year. Obviously, the biggest story of the year is the resurgence of Kyle Busch with 3 wins there at RCR in that number 8 car. They've been fantastic everywhere they've been. They've been a threat every single week. And David, for me, it's not just the fact that Kyle Busch is back and winning and on a high level, looking like arguably the best driver in the sport again, but the fact that he's won fans over too. Carl Edwards was at the Darlington race for the first time in several years, and he's like, what the hell happened here? Everybody's cheering on Kyle Busch. The fact that he's won the fans over in this next half of the year, what a story, David, of the resurgence of Kyle, not only racing strong for a new team, but the way that he's kind of changed his identity, winning fans over the way he has. Amazing what driving for Richard Childress and a Chevrolet will do to change your persona.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's kind of interesting, and I think Kyle's had a little bit of, he got humbled. I thought he was going to be with Joe Gibbs Racing his whole career, and he was the poster child for Toyota, no doubt about it. And it's kind of interesting how it all played out publicly and in our sport the last couple of years about, him maybe not driving for Joe Gibbs Racing, which I would have never thought I would have heard those words. And then when it played out really publicly, I think Kyle, the way he held himself and was honest about everything, I think the fans really started to kind of understand that he was, he's Kyle Busch, but he was a human being, and he had feelings, and they felt bad for him, and nobody really knew where he was going to go when he did make an announcement that he would be leaving Joe Gibbs Racing, and I don't know, it was just you kind of felt for him, you know what I mean? And I talked to a lot of fans that wasn't Kyle Busch fans, and they said, man, they felt like, I don't know. I think the consensus I got from different fans and people I know, people told me they actually felt like that he was kind of done wrong, whether that's true or not, but anyway, with all the social media and how you can follow him and his wife and his son, man, it's really been impressive to see the change in heart and the love that the fans have for him now. And man, and when he jumped over to Chevrolet at Richard Childress Racing, in my mind, what I was thinking was, man, everybody's going to be in trouble because, man, this dude, he's one of the best ever race car drivers in NASCAR. He's going to go down as one of the all-time best. And he's got a big chip on his shoulder, you know what I mean? And man, Childress saw, we saw how Childress's cars have been running the last couple of years. Man, it was amazing. What we're watching and what we're witnessing is, I'm not surprised by it. He's done phenomenal. Even when it doesn't go his way, seems like his attitude is a lot better about it. And like you said, Tyler, he has won over a lot of those boos have turned into cheers, and it's amazing, in a short period of time. So it's kind of cool to see that, it's cool to see the fans turn to love him now, you know what I mean? And I think part of it is just because they know he's human, he's human. Hey, we all make mistakes, and he's got feelings, and it's just kind of cool to see it all playing out in front of us. It's interesting, that when they announce him driver's introduction, man, it's amazing. We're used to hearing all these boos, and now they're loving him. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's been quite the story. And also shout out to his crew chief, Randall Burdett, is looking like maybe the best crew chief in the sport right now, with how well that he did last year with that team and Tyler Reddick, and now what he's done with Kyle Busch to click right on the same page immediately. I mean, credit where credit's due to Randall with that organization, what they've done. Also, one of the big storylines of this season so far at this point, Dominic, has been the Ross Chastain story. We are a year plus now of the incidents that have been happening, and he's made an enemy of about everybody. It's not just Denny Hamlin anymore. It's several other guys. And it reached a point of a climax of sorts, a breaking point when Rick Hendrick spoke out. And then after Rick Hendrick spoke out, then you heard Justin Marks say, we got to reel him in a bit. And Ross Chastain said, yeah, I got to do a better job and everything. But even then after that, we've still seen a couple other incidents here. This is an ongoing saga. I don't think Ross is trying to race like Dale Earnhardt Sr. here and racing dumb. I think that he's just overly aggressive, and sometimes it just gets in his own way. I think eventually this will all sort itself out, but he's probably still got more enemies to make in the meantime, though.
I think so. And what was it, Fox's segment? We'll see if NBC carries it over. Who's Ross going to run into this week, or who did he run into this? I mean, it's pretty bad when they're having to make a little spotlight out of kind of like the come on, man, on Monday Night Football kind of deal. But Ross Chastain, and I've said it on the show before too, and I don't think I'm making excuses for him here, David, but I think you could give some insight behind this too, especially from that driver's perspective. Ross, for the most part of his career, as we all know, drove for teams that necessarily didn't compete for wins, didn't compete for even top 10 finishes. Lucky to finish on the lead lap in the Xfinity Series, and all of a sudden you get thrust in to really good equipment. I've heard drivers say it before, David. It's harder to race in the top 5 than it is in the top 25, and you have great competitors all across the field, but as you start racing towards the front, the racing gets a lot harder.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Ross is a just an awesome race car driver, and man, when you're in equipment that when you're in C-rated equipment, competing against these powerhouse teams, I mean, you're doing everything you can to get a spot or 2 or 3. And, Ross has fought for everything and every opportunity he's gotten. He's deserved it. And kind of the way you describe that, Dominic, is now that he's got a team that has all the engineering, technology, funding. He's in a car that's really has lots of speed. You plug Ross in, excellent race car driver, really, really good. He's used to, over all these years, overdriving the race car and doing everything he can to showcase his talent. We knew over the years that the cars the teams he was driving for, us on the inside knew that they were 15, 20 place car, and man, he would take that team car and finish, 4, 5, 6 spots better than what we've ever seen it finished before, and I agree with you. I think over time, we won't be hearing as much as, people won't be predicting who he's going to hit in this race, but Ross Chastain has really, really done a lot for our sport. A lot of people that have not really tuned into NASCAR for years are kind of watching it, and they think it's exciting, which it is, and they love what Ross is doing. Excuse me. He's really he's almost kind of reminds me of Dale Earnhardt, man. He just he creates some excitement. He's ruffling a lot of feathers with his competitors, and man, we've been talking about him, and even people that don't keep up with sport are talking about it, and I love it. He's brought a lot more excitement to the sport, and and I agree with you, Dominic. I believe that over time and this season and next season, I don't, as time goes on, we won't even hear about who's Ross going to hit in this race, because he'll figure all that out.
A couple more notables from the halfway point of the season here that we want to hit on. David, Kevin Harvick, your favorite driver, hasn't got a win yet, but he's top 5 in points. He's been running up front every week. Final season for Harvick. He's not just there to hang out. Like he's going out with a chance to go out on top here. I think that we've seen Ford improve. Stewart-Haas Racing is getting better every single week here. Watch out. We could see that Ford team go on a little summer run here, and Kevin Harvick contend for a championship on his way out the door.
Well, Kevin's such a great guy, great friend of mine, and has been forever, and really has done a lot for our sport. And when the time he came into NASCAR Cup Series racing, really at a time that we needed him to win races and run good, because man, the whole industry was hurting because we lost the late great Dale Earnhardt, and Harvick stepped in there and was winning races, and he really did a phenomenal job. I don't know. He's just been a great ambassador to the sport. Obviously a championship caliber race car driver. As my friend and just a great competitor, I'd love to see him. It's not often that you see a lot of our heroes and a lot of the legends of the sport, when they've won their championship, they won their fair share of races, and they just love it. They're so passionate about it and love it that they probably drive 5, 6, 7 years past really when they should have retired. And that's understandable, but it's really be kind of cool to see Kevin Harvick step out of the race car as a champion, or as a guy that won 2 or 3 races in his final season, because in the past we haven't seen that, and I don't know. He's such a great competitor. And I think Stewart-Haas, the organization Stewart-Haas Racing, they're starting to get this next gen car figured out. And Kevin's had a lot of speed since the season has kicked off in Daytona, so I'd love to see him get a win and be a part of the chase for to be part of the championship. Hopefully he can make it to the end and be our champion. I know that's it's so competitive, but man, I just think Kevin still has a lot of speed in him. His cars are fast. I love to see him win another race, and hopefully see him win a championship as he's stepping out to retire.
One more note on the mid-season recap here, Dom. We'll go to you on this one here. Kind of the fresh blood of sorts, or the standouts that maybe weren't expecting, the breakout candidates so far this year. 2311 as an organization has taken a big step up. Tyler Reddick already got in victory lane once. That team has 2 cars in the playoff right now, and they're at a point where they're expecting to finish both cars in the top 10 every single week. They're one for me that stands out. RFK Racing, both teams in the top 12 right now, still looking to get into victory lane, but much improved from what they were at in 2022. And then the Daytona 500 champion, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and JTG Daughtry Racing, what they've done this year. The Daytona 500 wasn't a fluke. Ricky Stenhouse has been running top 10, top 15 almost every week, and he's not wrecking race cars nearly as much like he used to. He's running up front. He's staying clean. He's matured as a race car driver. Those 3 organizations have been some breakout candidates so far this year, and made their presence known.
I absolutely agree with every point you're making. And to add to that further, I would say a team that has regressed. I think I was surprised, and maybe people on the inside were not surprised. But to see Colleague Racing have their all-star car last year, the rotation of drivers that they had, AJ Allmendinger looking like
And Legacy Motor Club, too, is taking a big step back.
Yeah, team as well, too. Those two teams have just fallen off the wayside. Eric Jones looking like a former shell of himself from last year. And here's a guy that was running top 10 a lot, getting that win at Darlington. Now, granted, I know that they're going through some growing pains there, too, and they're going to make the Toyota transition next year, so that could make a difference. But as of right now, Tyler, Legacy Motor Club just looks on the down and out. And same as Colleague Racing. Colleague Racing seems like they're a step behind compared to the other Chevrolet organizations. AJ Allmendinger not looking like how he did last year. And that organization as a whole, Justin Haley not looking as good as he did like last year, too.
Yeah, very good points there. One more before we get to our news and notes. What an event it was for Hendrick Motorsports and NASCAR to pull off the Garage 56 entry at the 24 Hours of Le Mans over the weekend. Completed all 24 hours. What we saw out of Mike Rockefeller, Jimmy Johnson, Jenson Button. I mean, just an incredible effort by Chad Knaus and, Greg Ives and that crew to pull off what they did. Jeff Gordon, Rick Hendrick, everybody that was involved there. David, I think at first people thought it was cool PR. It was good for the sport to put itself out there. But the fact that they were as competitive as they were, that they didn't just go in just to do it. They went in and had a fast race car, that they got the laps in that they did, that they had such a good showing. I think Hendrick Motorsports and NASCAR just impressed on the entire world stage with that stock car running among the sports cars there in France this weekend.
Yeah, you did mention Hendrick Motorsports and NASCAR, so I can't really elaborate too much about all this, Tyler. It's interesting to hear you speak about it. I've kind of been not really. I hear parts and pieces about it, but I don't know enough about all of it to talk about it. But man, it's interesting to hear. I think this is when they debuted, right? This week. Yeah. And man, just hearing you speak about it, how fast they were, how good they ran. I mean, it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise you guys. It shouldn't surprise anybody. You are talking about NASCAR and Hendrick Motorsports, and man, you just man, what a powerhouse combination there. And it'd be interesting to see where it goes from this point on. You know what I mean? So I asked the question, you guys, what's the future? What's the next race? Is there a race scheduled again for them? I mean, what's the future look with this team and situation? What's going on with it?
Well, Dominic, I would think about it like this, that, the Garage 56 thing is a special entry every year. I'd be surprised if they got invited back next year. I think that, it's an innovation type thing. But the fact that it got as much attention as it did on the world stage, now you open up a whole different can of worms of what does NASCAR do internationally? And we've heard that Ben Kennedy, wants to bring the sport to Canada next year. And, some of the other ideas that are thrown out there. I think, if we're talking about creating, getting creative with the schedule here, if you could run that car for 24 hours like that, what about an endurance race in NASCAR? What if we found a way to run an endurance race, maybe throw all three series out on the track together? Like, I would love that. I think that'd be awesome. I thought it was great, not only for the publicity of the sport on the world stage, but then just for experimentation and such. Maybe it's more international stuff with NASCAR. Maybe it's an endurance race in the future here. This, I think, opened up a whole can of worms more than people may think.
It certainly got a lot of attention. And I'll tell you, I kind of felt like David for a moment, because there's been times on this show, David has gone back and said, hey, I had people reaching out to me about this, about NASCAR and the news for this, or NASCAR and the news for that. I had people that don't watch NASCAR, Tyler, David, that were reaching out to me and saying, hey, is this true? And sending me TikToks of the NASCAR vehicle, Garage 56, Le Mans, like, what's going on with this? And just even seeing the buzz on social media, you can tell this entry certainly put NASCAR in the spotlight again for some really good things here. Why not capitalize on the momentum, like you said, with Ben Kennedy and sending diplomats for NASCAR around the world to see what can we do here in the coming years?
Yeah. It's a good point. It was awesome on that side of things to be a part of that stage and see NASCAR do what they do. And David asked about the future. Like, we know that next year when Kyle Larson runs the Indy 500, that is a Hendrick entry with Arrow McClendon. Those two organizations are working together as a joint unit. So Hendrick's not done with international racing and diving into some other things here. So there's a whole lot more to come. I'm excited to see. David, real quick, what do you think about the possibility of an endurance race? Is that something that would intrigue you? Would you like to run some type of endurance race in NASCAR, even if it's like 8 or 12 hours, getting all 3 series on the same track or something? Is that even possible, you think?
Well, I don't think it's ever possible, and I don't think it'll ever happen. But I would love to participate in something so cool like that, Tyler. I think that would be incredible. You put the NASCAR camper with a NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series and the Xfinity and the Cup, put them all on a race in a race in an endurance race. That'd be amazing, dude. And I don't think we'll ever see that happen. But hey, anything's possible, and I would love to participate in that race if that comes to be true.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be something, Dom, if you did an endurance race? And I think one thing would be intriguing is if you did it long enough where it required multiple drivers, of seeing these Cup drivers. Like, we know how much pride they take. They don't want to be giving up that seat. I could see some guys being like, can I go 6? Can I go 7 hours on this? Like, not wanting to give up their ride,
Oh, definitely. And David, I'm sure you can kind of attest to this. You've run the Coca-Cola 600 on a couple of occasions. I mean, yeah, it's a long, enduring race, but you hear oftentimes the driver's like, oh, I could have gone another 100 laps. I could have gone another 150 miles.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. But, the endurance race, I guess it's all, everybody knows, how many drivers and what segments you're going to run, so, hell, I, man, if I could, I'd run 24 hours just to see if I could do it, challenge myself, but, I don't think NASCAR would even let that happen, but it'd be kind of interesting to see how the format was set up, and and what the what the limitations are, what the minimum and maximum drivers and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So there'd be a lot of cool questions and answers, and if this even was even possible, be very interesting, and I think a lot of people would love to participate in an event like that. It'd be kind of cool if NASCAR did some crazy event, like that, and maybe put $1 million fee on the winner. You know what I mean? So it'd be kind of cool.
Oh, definitely. Our news and notes segment coming up next, and then later on we'll have our Ask David segment. But first, Dominic, take it away with the latest headlines happening around the sport this week.
Well, of course, every year we know that the NASCAR schedule comes out sooner. Sometimes it comes out later. You guys might remember 2019. The schedule was released for 2020 in March of 2019, but still we have nothing on the 2024 schedule at this time. However, there could be a lot of changes coming to that schedule when it does get announced later this year. Jordan Bianchi of The Athletic is reporting there are some massive changes coming to 2024 schedule, including the idea that the Bristol Dirt Race will not likely return to the lineup in 2024. Another possible scenario that Bianchi is reporting is it has the spring race at Bristol being replaced by North Wilkesboro, which would be unprecedented because Bristol has held 2 points-paying races every year, I believe, since 1969. And also among discussions are the planned reconfigurations at Auto Club Speedway and a return to Canada. And guys, according to what I've seen, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tyler, there's never been a points awarding Cup Series race held outside of the United States. This could be the first time in 24.
Correct. And they're looking at that Montreal track where F1 races. And we've seen the Xfinity Series there in the past. I think the Truck Series ran there before. I don't know if David's ran there before or not, but David, sounds like that would be the replacement for Auto Club. for now while Auto Club goes under its renovations and everything. David, NASCAR going to Canada, it makes a lot of natural sense. We talked to Caitlin Patrick a while back, and a lot of race fans up there, a lot of fans just in the U.S. that would make that trip too. And that racetrack in Montreal is a world-class facility. This to me makes a lot of sense.
It does make a lot of sense, and I think we'll see that happen. But I think it's cool that the schedule is not out yet, just because that NASCAR and their team are working hard to put all the to plug in all the right pieces, television, it's not a easy. I'm not in that side of it, but it's not an easy for scheduling and everything that goes with that. So the schedule not being released yet, to me, really makes it more exciting to see what it's going to look like, because it's going to be different. If it wasn't going to be different, we'd have already seen a schedule. So we know the schedule coming out, not have seen the 2024 schedule, that there's going to be some big changes in it, and I think that's exciting.
And Don, that's not the only change expected.
And so many possibilities with the schedule. And you've heard Ben Kennedy say that they want to go a little more radical with it. And as we get more into 25 and 26 and 27, like we were alluding to earlier, Tyler, there's no timetable on this. And I think we were talking about this maybe earlier this week too, off air. We might be seeing some foreign races, maybe in the Middle East, maybe in Europe someday. There's just so much excitement around this. And I've always said, Tyler, I think it's great when an organization tries to go outside the box. So many possible changes here, even just upcoming in 2024.
Dom, you left out a big detail in all this.
What did I leave out? The what?
About North Wilkesboro. There's also a report that Bristol Dirt is likely done, and that North Wilkesboro is.
You missed
back
that, Tyler. I already talked about that 3-4 minutes ago.
Oh, it went over my head.
It's okay. It's okay.
Thanks for catching me on that. But let's break that down for a second, because we talked about Canada there. That whole idea. North Wilkesboro, David, the All-Star race wasn't that exciting, if we're going to be honest here, but it was the environment that was exciting. You bring a cup rewarding race back to North Wilkesboro here, that could be a game changer there.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's very interesting to see a SMI track like Bristol and North Wilkesboro. It's kind of interesting that I'm hearing what you're saying. Bristol, it's everybody's all-time favorite race. It'd be a big deal for SMI and the NASCAR to take a race away from the Bristol Motor Speedway. That would be a big one for me if that happens. And there's so much energy and excitement around bringing the track back in North Wilkesboro. I wouldn't be surprised, but that's just talking about all this, I can't wait for the schedule to come out just to see the changes. And they did sink a lot of money into the North Wilkesboro track. Obviously they didn't repave it, and when the schedule comes out, if North Wilkesboro's has a race, you almost know that they're going to repave it, after seeing what we saw in the All-Star race. So, but man, it's just exciting to know that there's big changes coming. We don't know what they are. A lot of speculation. Y'all are hearing reports, but that's what makes it really intriguing, and we all can't wait.
Well, and then you also have to think too, if North Wilkesboro is getting a points race, then what's the All-Star race going to be? And Charlotte? That's kind of, say that again.
Maybe Charlotte. That came to the top of my mind. Do you guys think Charlotte would get it back?
I don't think Charlotte's getting back. I think they want to keep it fresh of sorts. I mean, that's a whole nother can of worms, and it gives SMI something to work with. We've heard that Fox wants it to be grassroots. That's what they've been kind of pushing for the All-Star race. But yeah, you got a whole nother possibility of what to do then. Maybe SMI, turns into a crazy event of some sort, something outside the box we're not thinking about. Maybe Rockingham gets the All-Star race then or something,
Man, Tyler, you're way out there.
Yeah, maybe. Don, what else going on?
Well, a friend of the show, Greg Biffle, maybe he's not done racing at the national level in NASCAR. At a press conference over the weekend in Sonoma Raceway, when asked by somebody of the front stretch staff if you'd run NASCAR again, Biffle had said that maybe running the Portland race in the NASCAR Xfinity Series could be something to look at in 2024. Biffle has not run in the Xfinity Series since 2010. He last ran some Cup races last year, but with him being from the Pacific Northwest, maybe it's not done. Maybe we see Greg Biffle back behind the wheel. But he did say, Tyler, that if a deal were to come together, he's got to start working on that now because it's going to take some time to get this rolling.
Yeah, Greg Biffle. I'm surprised that we didn't see him back with the money team this year, running Daytona or some of those other races. But we haven't seen the last of Greg Biffle. I believe he's doing SRX again. When that should be starting up here in the next couple of weeks as well. Greg Biffle still has something left in the tank. I don't think David will ever see Greg Biffle as a full-time race car driver again, but we'll still see some flashes. He'll still pop up from time to time.
Yeah, I don't think Greg's done. When Greg semi-retired, I think the frustration where the organization he was with at the time, they really wasn't making any gains on trying to make the cars, his race cars, better, to have more speed. He fought that battle for a long time, and I think just the frustration and the bang your head up against the wall, not really going anywhere, really got the best of him. But no, I totally agree with you, Tyler. I think I don't think we've seen the last of Greg Biffle, and if the right deal came along, I think we'll see him doing a lot more races than just one or two.
Yeah, I agree. Dominic, last thing before we wrap up, it's an off week this week. But historically speaking, Father's Day weekend, we've seen some exciting stuff over the years. My personal favorite memory, I always think back to when Ryan Newman won on Father's Day with his dad as his spotter.
Oh, yeah, Michigan 2004. Great call there. I mean, Father's Day and NASCAR racing and having the off week has only been something of recent memory, Tyler, because in NASCAR 75 years, we've seen 44 races run on Father's Day, with the most recent being at Nashville Super Speedway in 2021. But Michigan International Speedway, we saw Sonoma on the schedule for a couple of years, Pocono Raceway, but more often than not, Michigan was the site for Father's Day racing. That seemed like to be a NASCAR tradition, like the Firecracker 400. You'd have that in Daytona with July 4th weekend, but this is just the second time in recent memory that we don't have NASCAR racing on Father's Day. And polar opposites too, I should mention here, Tyler and David, because we typically don't see NASCAR race on Mother's Day. That's been something that's been kind of held as an off week more often than not over the years. So this is only a recent thing where we're seeing no racing on Father's Day weekend. And we might add too, it is an off week for all three touring series.
Yeah, that's something we usually don't talk about is off weeks in all three series. But Father's Day, David, this off week and everything, I know that you're enjoying time with your family at the beach and everything, but what's it like for all these other drivers to be just enjoying, taking this time off away from the racetrack? Are these guys even going to the shop or anything? Or are they completely unplugging and staying away?
Well, everybody's different, but it's hard to really analyze all of them. But all in all, with the crazy and busy schedule of NASCAR, I think anytime the drivers get a chance to spend some time away from a racetrack with their family and catch up on some R&R with their kids and wife, and they really enjoy it, just because the schedule's grueling. We don't have a whole lot of off weekends, and when you get one, they try to really enjoy it and take advantage of it. So yeah, I think everybody appreciates the off. I know the teams do, the crew members do, to try to catch up a little bit in the shop, prepare for maybe the last 10 races for the chase starts. Just to give a little everybody a little R&R time is not a bad thing, which you don't have much of that in our sport. So I think everybody that can will take advantage of it, and then we'll all get back to action there in Nashville.
Yeah, for sure. Our Ask David segment coming up next. Submit questions to us on Facebook and Twitter at Starr Podcast, also by email. DavidStarrPodcast@gmail.com is where you can submit questions to us each and every week here on Let's Go Racing. Our first question in the inbox this week. This one comes from Stubbs. And Stubbs wants to know.
Great name. I like that. Stubbs.
Stubbs. Yes, that is a very good name. Stubbs wants to know, David, who was your favorite athlete growing up outside of racing?
Wow.
Growing up outside of racing.
Yeah, man. Wow. I really don't know. All my heroes and mentors and people I idolized were all NASCAR drivers, So, one of them that really comes to mind, and I just love to watch him pitch. He pitched for the Houston Astros for years, and as a kid growing up, was Nolan Ryan, man. Nolan Ryan was tough. Man, his fastball was incredible. He was from Houston, Texas, where I was from, just south of Houston and Alvin. And he was just somebody I really enjoyed watching pitch for the Houston Astros. So I'd have to say, if I had to pick one, it was Nolan Ryan for me.
That's a good one. Nolan, I loved when he kicked Robin Ventura's ass, but put him in the headlock, and he was like 40 years old at that point too, David.
Well, it's like most Texans, pretty calm and easygoing, and sometimes when you get backed up in the corner, you got you got to get yourself out of the corner, So, but man, Nolan, as everybody knows, was one of the all-time best pitchers. And and man, his longevity as a pitcher was incredible, and then the mental toughness, he was tough, and you definitely didn't want to leave the batter's box and approach the mound. That was for sure, because you could see what happened to you if you did.
Yeah,
but man, incredible athlete, man, incredible athlete.
You ever got a chance to meet Nolan?
I've met him 3 or 4 different times, yes, sir, and his son, but just great people, do a lot for the communities, different communities in Texas. And I can't say we're friends, but I have met them on several occasions. And it's always been a treat to be able to meet, somebody like that.
How about you, Dom? Outside of racing, who were your heroes favorite athletes growing up?
So outside of NASCAR, there for the longest time, a good 5-6 years, I followed the NFL very religiously, like I did NASCAR. Maybe religiously is not the right word, but very close hand in hand. And one of my favorite athletes, and I never got to see him play live, was Brett Favre. I'm a Green Bay Packers fan. I'm a Cradle Packers fan. My mom and dad, longtime Packers fans. I'm a lifelong one. And just to see Brett Favre get in that backfield, 3rd and 5, you knew there was always a chance Green Bay could convert for a first down. Or if you were down 3 or 4 points with 2 minutes left in the game, you have that good old gunslinger Brett Favre launching the football to Donald Driver, Amon Green, or Ryan Grant, all these great athletes, but Brett Favre's at the top of my list, man. How about you, Tyler?
Brett Favre's a good one. Now, if he would just quit, scamming welfare funds, then he'd be a lot better off, these days. But for me, one, growing up in Oklahoma, we only had one professional team in our state, and that was the Oklahoma City Thunder, who came to Oklahoma City in 2008. And I loved watching Russell Westbrook play. And he went on to play for the Houston Rockets for a bit, and then the Wizards and the Lakers, a couple other teams. But Kevin Durant left town, and we were heartbroken. And Russell Westbrook took the franchise on his back and just really represented the entire state of Oklahoma, and did so with such class and everything. Like I was proud, of Russell Westbrook and what he did to represent us as Oklahomans and everything. So Russell Westbrook is my answer. Sam Bradford would be another one for me too. Growing up an Oklahoma football fan, and he won the Heisman Trophy and was just so fun to watch. He was incredible and really put just had a great run there for Oklahoma football. What he was a part of, his time there was one of the best college quarterbacks I've ever seen. So, a couple good answers there on that front. Next question comes from Freddie. Freddie wants to know, this one's for all of us. We'll start with David. Who's a bucket list guest you'd like to have on the show?
Man, there's a lot of them, but my bucket list guy would be my hero. A couple of them. A guy named Ronnie Chumley, who my dad worked for when I was a kid growing up, and just an awesome race car driver. Drove for Vita Fresh Orange Juice, just a hell of a race car driver, and really one of my biggest mentors. And then the second would be AJ Foyt. Man, love to have AJ Foyt on our podcast. That would be just incredible.
That's a good answer. How about you, Dom?
Yeah, I'm going to sound PR here, but it really is the honest truth. You think all the guests we've had over the years, from all the big name drivers to drivers who are still racing, drivers still making it, we've had so many good guests. For me, it's hard to pinpoint one or two drivers or one or two people. I mean, for me, I guess Richard Petty would come to mind. It'd be awesome to have the King on our show. But outside of that, I mean, just who we keep getting some awesome people lined up on this show. Maybe Alan Bestwick would be towards the top of that. And just some of these guys that have had such a big hand in the sport time over time. How about you?
For me, it's my hero in this sport, Jeff Gordon. I'd love to have Jeff Gordon on the show. And I've mentioned it to Jeff, and Jeff said that, he loves David. He's a fan of David. And so maybe we can make that happen here in the future. Last question coming in. This is from Piper. This is for David. This is going to be an interesting one. Piper wants to know, David, what is your view on the balance between work and personal life?
Wow. Yeah, it's my view on it is it's a challenge. It's not easy for any of us, not only myself, but a lot of the NASCAR drivers that race in the Truck Series, Xfinity, and Cup Series. And, you guys, all of us, we all have responsibilities to take care of our families. We have kids, we got wives, we got responsibilities, bills to pay. We got to keep a roof over our family's head and feed our family, and insurance. And it's, and the commitments that the sport we work in, there's a lot of commitments that we have to meet and be at. And that's a great question. And it's a challenge. It's a challenge to balance personal life and work, because, man, I as you guys know, and I know you guys, y'all work a lot. I work a lot. I travel a lot. I'm busy. So, it's a loaded question, and it's not an easy one. And I can, my view is how I justify it personally in my mind is, trying to give my family the best life. I married my wife, had my kids. I'm responsible to make sure I give them the best upbringing as a parent, and to make sure that I'm taking care of my responsibilities. To do that at times does keep me away from home, and I'm gone a lot, and I miss a lot of cool things. But I'm trying to be a great dad, a great husband, and keep up as being a dad, a husband, and kind of the head of the household. So that's a great question. I don't know if I have all the answers to it. I can just tell you that it's not easy. It's a challenge, and it's something that I constantly work on every day to try to balance it the best I can.
I love that. That's That's a great answer. Trying to balance things, not always the easiest, but certainly make an effort to do so. Dom, you and I were always juggling a few things on our plates, but always try to circle back where it matters, you know?
Oh, definitely. I think I know I can speak for David on this, and definitely you, Tyler. I think we value our family time, and the time you get with your loved ones is just only so much. So you want to make the most of it. And for me, I can share this struggle with you guys. It hasn't been easy, but man, I'm not perfect, but I feel like I've gotten a better balance. Like there is a public version and there's a private version. There's professional Dom, there's personal Dom. And like trying to balance that hasn't been easy over the years, but I feel like I've gotten better from disconnecting a little bit and like, hey, family time is family time, work time is work time. And that hasn't been easy. There's been some tough lessons learned with that. But hey, the older you get, the more you learn on this stuff.
And then there's a Chef Boy, Dom, too, you know.
Oh yeah, Chef Boyard Dom, get it right.
Dom, yes, just slaving away the stuff.
That's Cook Dom to you, yes.
Yes. Guys, before we go, what's going on in the world this week? David, we mentioned you're off enjoying yourself at the beach this week. You taking those long walks on the beach, doing that thing, getting your toes in the sand and everything?
Man, I swam in the beach this evening. Did a lot of fishing, caught a lot of sharks. Just having some good time with my family and my mom and dad and sister and her kids. And got towards the end of the week, I have a couple sponsor meetings. Looking forward to racing in Nashville in a couple weeks. And man, just busy time again. Trying to balance that workload and my family life. But lots going on just right now. Just trying to take in a little R&R and be a great dad and a husband for now.
Dominic, how about you, man?
Man, I'm looking forward to being able to spend it with our family. We moved back to Grants here a couple of weeks ago, and man, you guys have moved. I'm sure anyone listening to the show has moved at one time or another. You guys know how stressful that can be, but it's a lot of fun. We're getting settled into our new place and looking forward to spending Father's Day with our family and Christopher and my wife Felice, and then the extended Autogoing family, and we're going to probably have a barbecue. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and just looking forward to spending that family time together. How about you, Tyler?
Just enjoying the weekend here, before getting back on the road next week. Dave and I will be out in Nashville, and then I'll be in Chicago after that. So last weekend off for me before I hit the road as far as that goes. But I got to tell you one quick thing, Dom, before we wrap up here and go. You say you're going to have a barbecue. Let me put this out there for the folks at home listening, and this is a message to Dominic as well. If you're having a barbecue, it's not a barbecue if you're inviting everybody over to have hamburgers and hot dogs. That's a cookout. If you're having a barbecue, if you invite me over to your barbecue, there better be at least like brisket or ribs or something to that extent. Like, don't invite me over if we're just having a hamburger and hot dogs. That's a cookout. So, Dominic, I'll ask you just to clarify, just to check and make sure. Are you having a barbecue or are you having a cookout?
I will get back with you on that.
Fraud.
Cookout barbecue, as long as it's an excuse to get together.
There you go.
He's having a cookout. That's a party foul. Red flag. I'm throwing the penalty flag down on Dom.
Oh, he's gonna cancel me on that party there, David. Like the Summer of Jones got canceled this weekend.
Hey, no. The Summer of Jones is off and running. David was actually a big part of the Summer of Jones this past week with the race. We got to go. Always a pleasure anytime we get to chat on this very program with the latest happenings in the motorsports world. We'll be back next week. We'll put the checker flag out in this episode. As always, subscribe to Let's Go Racing with David Starr. New episodes out each and every week, wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. Leave us a 5-star review or don't leave us one at all. Hit that like button as well. We certainly appreciate it. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/Starr Podcast, Twitter at Starr Podcast, and by email, davidstarrpodcast@gmail.com. Let's Go Racing, part of the Studio Soapbox Network. Check out this show as well as the Jones Report and the Coach Bo Knows podcast and more shows to come. We'll announce that in the very near future as well. For Dominic Aragon and David Starr, I'm Tyler Jones. Thanks so long. It's been another edition of Let's Go Racing. We'll see you next week.